Hi everyone, so I'm back again to do another video for you. Today I'm going to do a peony. I know in some of the groups a lot of people seem to have a thing about peonies just lately. There seem to be a lot of them about, but I was going to do it anyway, so here we go. This is a different type of peony to the peony that I've done before. The last one I did was called Bowl of Beauty. The one I'm going to do this time is one with, again with an open centre and stamens. There's various different ways of doing peonies. You can do one with a closed centre, or you can do one with an open centre, or a different variety like the last one with the Bowl of Beauty, which you can see on my channel. So these are the cutters that I'm going to use here, these three cutters here. They've got really jagged edges because they are quite raggedy peonies. They don't have a straight edge. I mean, if you haven't got them, you can always use the largest cutters you've got in your rose petals, and you could cut into the tops of them to make them a bit raggedy if you haven't got these cutters. But I found these quite cheaply online on there is a plastic one actually you can get in this country which has got the similar sort of edge, which is the FMM one. If you can get hold of that, then they're not quite as big as these. It depends on how big you want your flower to be, but I'm doing quite a big one, so that's why I'm using this particular cutter. So first of all, the thing we need to do is to make the same. As you can see, I've already made some here which I've flattened out, and these I've sprayed them with some hair lacquer. So what I'm going to use for this is I'm going to use a 30 gauge wire. Don't matter what colour it is, it can be either a green or a white one because it's not going to be seen in this. Those are on green ones, but as you can see I've already covered them with stem text, so I'm knocking my petals down here that I've already made. I'm going to break them before I get to assembling them. Like I keep saying to people, if things go wrong in my videos, I don't cut it out because this can happen to anybody. I'm just going to cut this into 4. There are quite a lot of stamens around a peony. This is one of the reasons why I don't buy the shop, use the shop bought stamens, because it all adds to the expense. And if anybody hasn't seen it already, I have just uploaded a video on my channel on how to price things up. And the biggest mistake a lot of people make when they're making things like this for people is to forget about the time it takes you to do it and paying themselves an hourly rate. It's alright making a profit on your cake by adding up all your ingredients and things like that, but you still need to make money yourself. You need to pay yourself a wage if you're going to do this for a living. And this is the biggest mistake that a lot of people make. They don't do that, and this is why you get quite a lot of people working from home doing cheap cakes. And to be honest, and I'm not being awful to you, it's not worth your while. And a lot of people that are professionals in the business would complain about that as well, because you're undercutting people that are also putting the same amount of work in, who have been doing it for a long time, spent an awful lot of money on all the equipment, and then somebody goes and undercuts them and people go to them for a cheap price. So like I say, it's not worth undercutting anybody for that reason. If you're good enough at what you do, then you should charge a proper price for it. Right, so I put 4 wires on there, so I'm just going to bring the wires down to meet. I have got them a little bit tangled up, but I will get round to getting that straightened up once I get my wires down. And here we go. That one's a little bit low down. I'll just put that a bit higher up. Just take your time when you're doing things like this, just to make sure that you get enough. I wound this round 4 fingers, this cotton that I've got here, and if you've got small hands you might need to go around more, or if it's you ladies doing it, use your hubby's hands to do it, or get him to do it for you, or your partner, or whoever else it is that you've got around that's got big hands. I've probably missed a few bits there, but we'll go in and there they are. Right, we'll just see if we've got them all apart. Once you've got them cut, then you can trim them off. Once you've got to that stage. There's the one there that wants trimming. That's 1, 2. Another one there that I've missed somehow. Right, so that's those done, and then the next thing then to do is to trim them off to make sure that they're all level, because you've always end up with some straggly bits on there. So I'm just going to check them against the ones I've already done for length. So if I use that, it's a bit like hairdressing is this when you're doing this sort of job. Put that one down, and then we can just turn this round and do it the other way, just to make sure we get it reasonably level. They don't have to be perfect, but if you can get them fairly neatly done, that helps. One of my ex-students would have been able to show me how to do this, because she's a hairdresser. So if you're watching, hope I'm doing this right. We haven't had any classes for a long time because of the situation that we're in at the moment. If you're watching it while we're still got this virus going round, it's been a hell of a problem for people learning new crafts unless you learn it online. It's the only way you've been able. Right, so to make your stamens, what I've done is I've cut some cotton out, I've rolled it round my fingers 50 times, round 4 fingers. If you've got small hands you might need to get somebody else to do it, it's got big hands, a partner or somebody like that, whoever's can do that for you. And trim the edges to make sure that they're fairly even. Just to straighten them off. You just check them against each other to make sure you've got them all more or less the same. Right, the next job is to get some tape. And where's my little tape cutter? There we are. I'm using half width tape for this. I don't often use quarter width tape for the simple reason a lot of people have difficulty with quarter width tape breaking all the time. And to be fair, most of the time half width tape is fine for most of the jobs that you do, apart from when you're putting a spray together, then I'll use full width tape. So what you need to do is to stretch the edge, find out which is your sticky side. If you just press it between your fingers, and the side it sticks to your finger obviously is the sticky side. Start it off underneath your cotton, then if you pull it up on your cotton, pull your cotton up and go upwards at an angle. Make sure your wires aren't sticking out. Sometimes you just have to persevere a little bit with this bit. Then once you've caught the bottom of your cotton, then just tape down. Like that. Now just in case it looks a bit odd when it gets to this tape, if there's a gap or anything like that, it's because I have a confession to make. My camera stopped rolling because my battery ran out, so I had to plug it in, and then I recorded the next bit without any sound, so I've had to come back and re-record this section. So if it looks a little bit odd, you know why. As I keep saying, for the sake of repeating myself, because I'm the cameraman as well as the demonstrator, it's a bit difficult sometimes to see what's going on up there while I'm doing down here. And I have to laugh at myself and make a joke of it, because if we didn't, we'd all be very miserable people, wouldn't we? It's not always a good thing to take yourself too seriously. You need to have a laugh now and again. The only bits that I've missed out were doing these stamens, showing you what I was doing with these, and showing you how to do the petals. So that's the bit that I've had to redo. Right, so once you've got the cotton onto thing, I should have some more stamens somewhere that I used earlier on. If you just let me find those. There's one of them. Oops. There should be another one there somewhere. There it is. Right, so the next step with that, as I do with all my stamens, anyone that's watched my videos before will know this, I like to spray them with some hair lacquer so that they stiffen up a little bit and stay where you want them to be. So the hair lacquer that I'm using is a maximum hold spray. I'm just taking it away from the camera. I'm not going to do this on camera because I've got to spray it away from me. Just to spray both sides of your stamens and then just open them out. I'm just fanning them out so that they'll go around the middle. Now what I'm going to do while I'm spraying them, sometimes I do it with glue if they've already dried, but what I'm doing, because I'm doing them now, is I'm going to dip them straight into the pollen, which is a mixture of ground rice and some yellow powder food colour. I think it was sunflower, the one that I've used for this. Let's comb that out again. Spray. And then into the pollen. I mean, sometimes if you're doing the centre, like on the hellebore video that I did and that, you need to spray them out as a centre, not flat like this. So the reason I'm doing them this way is because these are going to go around the middle that I made earlier. Let's have a look at these, see what these are like. I'd already done these earlier. I'm just going to do them again because These have got a bit flattened with being on the side there that I'd already done earlier, so I'll do them again. Right, so the next job then is the centre that I made at first. That one's dried a bit now, the one that I made earlier. One of them's curved in. It shouldn't be like that, but there we are. So I'm just going to dust that all over with some green, and I'm using ginkgo green to colour this. Just get into the centre to get some colour in there. And then what I'm going to do with the top of it, because I'm going to dust the peonies with this blackcurrant, I'm going to just catch the top edge of the centre here with some of the blackcurrant, like that. And then start my tape off underneath the centrepiece there. I'm just going to turn the camera up a little bit this way. When I'm taping, I tend to go off camera, so I just pop the stamens in below like that. And because these haven't dried completely yet, they'll probably be a bit easier for me to arrange in place. Once you get your stamens in, you can adjust them the way that you want them. Let's put another one in there. Might as well have plenty of stamens in there, haven't we? And then tape down. Now when you get to the part where I put it together, you'll probably see that the centre might look a bit slightly different to this, because as I say, I've had to re-record the central part of my video again. I'm just getting in with the edge of my scissors now, just to get the stamens into the position that I want them in, and spread them out all the way round. There we are. That's fine. Put that to one side. And I'm just going to clean all these bits off of here before I do the petals. I'm just going to do 2 petals, 2 different sizes, just to show you how they go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these spoons here to shape them. So I'll just pop those there. The colour that I've used for my petals is this colour here. I think it was wine from Sugar Flare that I've used for this. I've had it made up a while, so I can't remember which one I used for it, but a deep burgundy colour anyway. Depends what paste you've got and what maker you're using as well, because they're all a bit different, aren't they? So whatever suits you. It depends on what colour you want your peony to be, because there are a few different colours in them now. I did actually see a yellow one in somebody's garden this spring, and I thought that looked really nice. I wouldn't mind one of those. Couldn't find it at the garden centre, so I haven't got that, but if I do find it I will get it. Right, don't go too thin with your paste because we need to put your ridge in. Now if you do have difficulty with getting your wires into your paste, you could use the what they call the lick and stick method, where you put the paste on your wire and then stick it to the back of your petal if you have difficulty with them. I'm just going to do a medium petal and a small petal. If you're using the ridge on the other side, it's a bit deeper ridge on the groove board, which probably for a lot of people will be a lot easier to do this. But the trick is, when you're doing anything like this, to make sure that you want a 26 gauge wire for this. It's what we use for most petals, unless you're doing something really big. Sorry for knocking my camera about a bit there. We'll just tilt that down a little bit. There we are. And I've cut all the wires into 3, so I've got a good length of wire on. So when you tape everything together, you've got a thick enough stem then, because they have got quite fleshy stems. So by the time you get a lot of wires together, you will have quite a thick stem on it. So twist your wire into the bottom and then up, a little bit at a time, and just feel it between your finger and your thumb. Don't go right to the top because we're going to frill that top edge, so with having to do this section second, I might have to do another peony, just for the sake of it. There we are. So that's your petals done. The next step now is to get your silk veining tool, this one, Gem 1, and frill out in a fan motion like that, and out like that. I always do it on my hand because it's a lot easier to do it on here. And then get it onto the edge of your finger, and then with your point up in the air, start frilling from the centre out, and frill the edges right the way round. So make sure you keep your veining going in the same direction as you've just veined it. So it's thinning out and widening the petal a little bit as well. So what you need to do then is to bend your petal so that when you put it into the spoon, it goes down into the spoon like that and cups the base of your flower, so that when you come to put your flower together, it will sit better. So do it again. With the bigger petals, you might need to move it on your hand so that you can get at all the pieces, because unless you've got really big hands, you won't do it all in one go. Doesn't matter if you miss a bit of the edge, because we're going to frill that with the veining tool separately. So again, onto the edge of your finger and just start frilling backwards and forwards, going in the same direction as your veins that you've already put into your petal, like that. Then go back onto the other side and go the other way. There we are. Again, bend your wire, make sure you get a good cup on it, then into your spoon. And what I do is I put it onto my foam so it lifts the petals up a bit. They will curve back a bit, but not quite as severely as that is. Set that to one side and leave those to dry. If you want to do leaves to go with it, then do some leaves to go with it. I did do some here. I might have to make some later, but I broke one of the sides off, and you want 2 side petals leaves like that, so you get sort of like a hand shape like that to go together. So I'll see you in the next part. Oh shit. Sorry about that, people. I didn't have my microphone switched on. I have got it switched on now. So I'll just go through what I've just done there. So as I say, I've veined the petals, as you saw me do, and then thinned the edges, and then put them into the spoon, curved the wire up and into the spoon, and then I've got 5 of each of the petals, 5 small, 5 medium and 5 large. Then I've also made some leaves as well. I'm not showing you these because I've done loads of leaves on. You all know how to make leaves, and you can always go back to my other videos if you don't. I've cut out a big one like this with the 2 sides, and then I've got 2 side leaves that are going to go on like that. So I'm just going to colour these, and again I'm going to use the same ginkgo that I used for the buds in the centre. I'm not sure how much sound I lost because I don't know if I can't remember when I started because my battery ran out and I had to plug my camera in. So we'll see when I come to check my recording. Unfortunately, I don't know how to do a voiceover. Oops, just broken a leaf. Told you things go wrong when I'm demonstrating. I'll fix that later. You could do these a little bit darker if you want to use a darker colour. As I say, I've used ginkgo for this. And always just give a waft over the back of your leaves. Where's the other one there? Just need a bit more powder. Right, just pop those to one side. They'll be varnished later on, but I'm not going to worry too much about that because you've seen leaves before in other videos, so I'm not going to dwell on that one. So what I need to do now is to assemble, sorry, no I don't, I need to colour the petals, don't I? I'm having one of those days today, so you just have to excuse me, I'm having a senior moment here. Back to my paper and my blackcurrant, and what I've done is, when the petals have dried, I just dust from the edge. I'm not dusting all the way down, I'm leaving some lower down that's lighter. I tend to not like doing a flat colour all over, and I don't mind if a bit of the undercolour shows through when you've dusted your petals, because I think it looks a lot more natural, because nature is not perfect, and if you look at flowers, they're never a matte colour all over, don't you? You get all sorts of different variations in them. Then obviously then go to the back and do the same, but I'm not going to go down quite as far, I'm just doing a little bit on the back. I've left a small one to do, or did I just leave that? I'm talking to myself again, so just ignore me when I'm doing this. You have to have a laugh or you die, won't you? Right, oh, missed a bit there. Right, so that wants to go with those. How many of those have we got? 2, 3, 4. We must have another one somewhere. We have there. I thought I'd left a small one to dust for you. The centre ones are the only part where you might see a bit of the bottom bit, so the rest of them you won't, because they've already got petals in front of them, so you're not going to see that far down them. As I say, I just like a little bit of variation in the petals when I'm colouring them. There we are, so that's that done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get rid of that paper there with the colours on it. I'm just going to put another piece I've got here to put my petals down on, get them all assembled in the different sizes all together, so you've got everything sorted out and ready to go. Oh, should be another one of them somewhere. There, 5, and then the large ones, 5 of those, and the small ones, 5 of those. Right, I don't know whether that piece of tape's going to be long enough. See if I've got some more here. Yeah, another piece there, it's a bit longer. It's always good to be prepared and have plenty of tape cut and that ready to go just in case you need it. Find out which is your sticky side of your tape. I'm just going to move my camera up a little bit this way, that's it, so you can see what I'm doing. This is why I go out of camera. I forget to do this when I go out of shot. Get in a position where people can see what I'm doing. Right, so start your tape off underneath your stamens, like that, and then bend your wires down and start feeding in your petals. Just to make sure that they're secure, get hold of your wires and pull them in to make sure they're in nice and tight. Then you don't get petals or leaves, if you're putting leaves together, flopping about. If you don't pull your wires down, This is when they move around when you don't want them to. One of the problems I had with a lot of my students, they're frightened to death of pulling the wires down and making sure that they're nice and tight in. You can move them around into position once you get them in. The only reason I've done 5 of each is because by the time you get your wide ones in, they're very wide and they're probably going to overlap anyway. So that's your first layer of petals in, like that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tape down about halfway. The reason I'm doing this is because it will hold those petals that I've put in place, like that. Then you can adjust them wherever you want them and they'll stay put then. Okay, so that's the first layer. Then we'll go on to the next layer, which is your medium sized petals, which are these here. Now if you want to, before you start, you can bend all your petals down, ready to go in. That way you're prepared. It depends on how you work really, and how much time you've got to do it in. At least that way you're ready to put your petals straight in. So the next one goes in. Oops, get my tape going again. Put your next petal in so that that goes over the join of the first 2 petals there. So it goes behind those there. I'm just going to pull that petal in, make sure that that's nice and tight in. Next petal. Put that one in. Let's over that join there. They will stay in place once you get all your petals in. Doesn't matter so much where you overlap on a peony, because I don't think anybody's actually sat and counted how many petals there are in a peony. Sometimes with some flowers we don't necessarily put the amount of petals that there are in that flower. As long as it looks like the flower it's supposed to be, you don't necessarily have to go and do that. We're not doing a competition here. If I was doing a competition, then I would spend a lot more time doing it, and I would make them while the peony's in flower, while I've got them in the garden, because I have got a lovely peony similar colour to this in my garden. Just start some more tape underneath that. Find out where that wire is, because we've got one standing up there a bit. There we are, I've got you. Right, so it wants to go in there. And I'm going to tape down again about halfway around, just to hold the petals in place. and then we can put in the last layer of petals. I always go around a couple of times when I put the first petal in, just to make sure that that's in nice and tight. And these are definitely going to overlap with these larger petals. Just going to pull those in nice and tight to make sure I've got those well in, like that. Put another one in there. Last one going in. I'm just going to finish off with some full width tape. I'll find where my tape is. There we are. Just to finish that stem off. And then once I've got that tape down, then I can adjust my petals into position to bring them up, because obviously they drop down a little bit. So there we are. That's my peony. Now you can do a calyx on the back of it if you want. The calyx I tend to stick directly on the back of the flower. And what I would do is I would cut out 3 rose petal in green, a decent size, and then I cut them and then stick them on the back of the flower. That's how the calyx is. But there we are. That's my version of the peony. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and come back and see what I do with the next video. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do next yet, but if you've got any suggestions of anything that you'd like to see me do, then as I said before, please leave comments below, and I'll see what I can do. So there we are. That's my peony. Take care and stay safe. See you in the next video.